Hi, it's Ian from the Postal Hub Podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
And we are the Last Mile Prophets. This is the last word on the last mile. This video is created thanks to Modern Expo, one of the key players in the world's parcel locker market. Modern Expo's product portfolio includes innovative solutions with refrigeration and freezing cells, Bluetooth locks, and even personal parcel lockers. Marek, we are returning to Lockerland, but don't worry everybody, we're not just going to talk about lockers and all the usual stuff. I shouldn't throw it away like that. People love talking about lockers, Marek. Have you noticed that?
They do indeed.
You know, people want to know how to make lockers work. If you want to know how to make a locker network work, I'll put a link down here somewhere. We can do a webinar for you. Oh, like a webinar. What do you call it? A workshop.
Workshop, Mr. Kerr, a workshop.
I've been doing webinars so long I forgot. We can do workshops for you as well. On this very topic, how to create a high-performing out-of-home delivery network. Lockers, Pudos, mix them all together. Fantastic stuff. But Marek, we want to talk about something interesting that's happened in Poland, sort of igniting the battle between residential and parcel locker delivery. Would you want to just share with everybody what's been reported in Polish media about DPD and InPost and all this?
Absolutely. First of all, it's reported, so we need to really follow up and check whether it's exactly as the report has been lodged. But Rzeczpospolita, which for those who are not in the know is Poland's equivalent of the Financial Times, have come up with an article in which they're suggesting that DPD is offering a lower price for to-door delivery versus locker delivery. There's a lot of other stuff in there, but that's the sort of the headline, as it were. And as you can imagine, I was quite surprised.
It does seem odd since everybody talks about out-of-home delivery providing efficiencies of scale and being able to deliver cheaper. Now, when I saw this posted on LinkedIn, my immediate thought was, is this a carrier trying to buy business? Now, that's a terrible term of phrase, but you're prepared to do a bit of a loss leader in order to sign up customers. Am I right in that sort of reading? Given that we're going on reports and all of this, is that the kind of thinking that we have at DPD? Surely not.
Well, Ian, let's assume that it is correct. If it is correct, then it seems to be what I'd call it a highway to hell, as I did in the LinkedIn report, because what it means is that one carrier, which has a fairly expensive to-door capability, or primarily an expensive to-door capability, wants to compete with one that has a competitive advantage. Because there's no question, you might remember when I stopped an InPost courier en route in Warsaw a couple of months ago, and he told me that yesterday he'd done 1,350 parcels. And today was a bad day because he was only going to do 850, compared to a DPD courier who I would imagine, unless something has changed dramatically, can be doing about 150. So how on earth, given the huge cost of human beings, how can they afford to do this? I don't think they can.
The other important point is about quality. And I've seen there's been a bit of discussion in Poland about quality of delivery. So timeliness, regular deliveries and things like that. How can you balance this quest for quality delivery while chasing business through discounts? Maybe I'm being naive, but can you even do that?
We all know that the last mile is all about volumes and economies of scale. So you can reduce the routes, you do get efficiencies. But I think when you're competing with a more efficient mechanism, i.e. lockers, it's very, very difficult. We need to add DPD is a quality supplier. The service they offer to door is probably the best in Poland at the moment. And I have one hope, which is that actually it isn't about to door and there's a misunderstanding, and that what actually DPD Poland is trying to do is to get capacity for their out-of-home network, because they bought some machines from Switbox. They've got some Pudos. It's not going to be easy because their machines are small. So even if they do get the capacity into that network, they still have a cost disadvantage, because an average InPost machine is probably in excess of 150 cells now, and the DPD ones are several times smaller. So, let's see. But, they're two extremes. The highway to hell scenario is that they really are trying to offer a lower price to door in the longer term in order to just get volume versus locker delivery. Probably the scenario that I would expect is somewhere nearer to the second I mentioned, which is that they're trying to get volume for their out of home. Either way, I'm surprised if what's reported is true. I'm surprised they're going about it that way. Must be other ways to do it.
In other videos, Marek, and I'll put a link to them, I think it's this side. Oh, maybe it's this side. I can never remember now because I'm looking at myself backwards here. With other videos, when we've talked about Lockerland, you've talked about Allegro's network. AliExpress is setting up its own parcel locker network. So in this very competitive out-of-home situation and competitive overall in the last mile, I mean, where does all this fit in?
Absolutely. Well, for me, a price war is about the last thing that's needed at the moment, with all of the issues of capacity, with the cost of labor in the last mile, the fact that actually most players are having a difficult task, not even, I would say, certainly people like Allegro, getting parcels for the lockers, but getting locations for lockers. Because I heard, again, this is reported, but that Allegro is having to put lockers in second class locations in small towns and cities because they just can't get the location in big towns. So this is a big issue. There's much more important issues, I think, about finding the locations, finding a good out-of-home alternative. And a price war would appear to be the last thing that I'd expect, and certainly the last thing I'd expect from a challenger versus the incumbent who have all the economies of scale.
It raises an interesting question about how you can compete with a player that is dominating the market. So if you say, let's just work on the assumption, Marek, that InPost is dominating the Polish market. They've got a very big network of parcel lockers, which is over 16,500 now.
Right.
They've got decent pricing, I imagine. They've got contracts with the big customers, as in Amazon. Who else?
They've got everyone. They've got Shopee, Amazon, Cainiao, Alibaba, you name it, they've got it.
And then they're even doing same day. So where's the space for a competitor to come in? If you're forced to go into suboptimal locker locations, where's the space for competitors to even compete?
And I think that's a really good question. Honestly, I really wish that some of the big carriers would take a step back. For me, the only way is for the other guys to get together, because you've got a closed network. I say this all the time. You've got InPost, which is a closed network. The others are out in the cold. Knock on my door at Last Mile Experts and I'll help you guys create something that's agnostic and can be a real alternative. Seriously, because I think, Ian, this is a big deal. And at the moment, no one has found a way to create an alternative, a sensible alternative to InPost. And let's be honest, DPD was the dominant player. It was number one. It's now a relatively weak number two. So unless the other guys get together on this fast, we're going to experience Kodak, or maybe even worse, Polaroid scenario versus, I don't know who the digital front runner was. Was it Canon or someone else?
MySpace. No, I don't know. Can I just ask you a different question then? There's been thinking in the delivery world that the only competition is direct competition, whereas that's not actually true. When you think about, let's go back to think about letters. Did other companies come out and start to deliver letters? Well, they did, but how well did they go? What's the actual competition to letters? It's digital. It's all that myriad of options there. When it comes to parcel delivery, what's the competition to parcel delivery? It might not be delivery locker to locker. It might be a Superfast delivery. It might be a white glove option. It might be something else. There might be some sort of value added option that creates the niche for other players to operate in, rather than trying to go head to head. That you'd see these nimble competitors come in and just carve out a little niche for themselves. They don't need to compete with an InPost or a DPD or a postal operator. They just need to carve out their little niche.
You know what the challenge is, Ian? That absolutely, and there are niches, and you're right, white gloves is a niche. Superfast delivery is a niche. Fresh delivery is a niche. But companies like DHL, DPD, et al., they are last mile carriers, and they have to make themselves relevant. And the challenge that they've got, in my opinion, is they've slept through the very important initial period of InPost development when things would have been easy. And now I don't believe any one of them can make this work in isolation. Either they're going to have to take a step back and look at it differently and find a way to even up the playing field, or they will fall by the wayside, in my opinion, and I'm out on a limb on this one, but honestly, in the way that Kodak did, and perhaps in some extreme cases like my favorite example, Polaroid did.
Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so that you get all our YouTube videos springing up in your YouTube feed. Helps us keep these videos free by doing this simple thing. We really appreciate it. So please do subscribe to our videos. Marek.
And Ian, we've got to remind everybody that, is it on the 3rd of March? We're going to have a super cool webinar with our friends from Scandit with some really cool, we're moving away from courier now to postal, some really cool postal examples of, next generation postal operations and some I think, really exciting stuff there.
I'll stick a link to that as a Zoom webinar, free thanks to our friends at Scandit. Check in the description below this video on YouTube and you'll see the link to sign up for that webinar. Marek Różycki, thanks for being part of Last Mile Profits today.
Thank you, and thank you, everybody.